one of the grandest moments in the book, and probably one of the top conversations in all of literature, is the section called "Over a Hydrox." We'll talk about how.
What page is that?
Sections before that. That is on page 1048.
1048, okay.
And it connects to. This is the beginning of Over the Hydrox. I can't remember the page of the specific scene, but Polly is being driven crazy by this idiot who continues to argue with him that Oreos are better than Hydroxes in the game first, and he eventually plugs him. And
well, that's one of his employees. That's the cousin of Alan Alda, the actor, Artie DeBruzzo.
Yes, we'll talk about that section too and how well it ties in. But the thing about that scene that is interesting is that you have the scene itself play out, and it has dialogue that it's exactly as you said in another segment that we talked. They're talking about something specific, but they're really talking about something else, at least especially, and what that something else is different to both of them. And then you get, after he's plugged, Vito Vincetti coming in there and spilling his crumbs all over the corpse again. And what's amusing about this is this occurs before the ass rape murder. Paulie even alludes to that but he says that, what did I tell you about dropping crumbs on the dead, Vito? So he's done this clearly many, many times, and he'll never learn his lessons to stop contaminating the corpse. Talk about that one too, because that one is clearly far more dramatic than the Jehovah's Witness interaction between him and Paulie, but it has the same contrast with the humor effect. You've talked about Norwegian being a dark comedy, but while I would agree with that, the high moments of drama are the equal of any other piece of literature.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Now, do what I say and don't drop crumbs on the corpse. Oh, sure, said Vito as he wiped his mouth. Paulie said, I told you before, Vito, don't be eating over dead people. Now, where was you? I was, well, me and that waitress what started here last month, we was getting to know each other, you know. That explains why you didn't hear nothing. Tell me, Vito, have you ever gone a full fucking month without cheating on that beautiful wife of yours? Oh, sure, boss. Oh, yeah, when? Once, in July of 58. Remember? That was the month Pesky Feldman and Vito DiCipio broke my ribs and my shin bone. I was laid up for like 6 weeks. Hard to get laid when you're laid up. Paulie pursed his lips and then shook his head. Vito said, you need me, boss? Paulie slapped Vito. You see that stiff? Which one? Which one? There ain't no bloodbath here. Just one stiff. Artie had an accident. Remember him? The stiff you crumbed all up? Sorry, boss, what happened? He must have fucked up worse than me, right? So I mean, yeah, you have to use, like I said, 2.5 million words. I think I may quote from it in here. I don't remember. Or I may have a character reading a small portion of it. Years ago, I read a 1.1, 1.2 million word book. Actually, it's divided into 2 books so long. It was called Saronia, Texas. And it was basically a Texas soap opera. I read this in my late teens, it took me about a month or so to read. And, you know, I was younger, so I wasn't as quick a reader, and it was quite boring. And it was just a soap opera, and it wasn't the worst thing I ever read, but its length, it was just probably about 5 times longer than it needed to be. But it's utterly devoid of humor. And as I've said, humor has to grease the wheels of drama. When you're doing something long, you have to have some moments of humor. You know, probably one of the few things that I can think of that is lacking humor, or mostly devoid of humor, that works in a long form is the 3+ hours of A Long Day's Journey into Night. But that's because even that is not super long, and it's so well wrought. But had that gone on maybe another hour or so, it would have started to get a bit tedious. And some people have said there are some tedious moments probably here or there, a few scenes that maybe could have been shortened a little bit. But you have to have something like the crumbs being dropped on dead people. You know, you have to have Paulie's outrage over the desecration of a corpse rather than his outrage over killing someone because they're arguing about whether a Hydrox is better than an Oreo. So, you know, and for people who don't know, a Hydrox was a cookie that was made before the Oreo. The Oreo was the imitation of a Hydrox. And and so you have to have these kinds of scenes that lighten things up. It was a way to bring in another celebrity, Alan Alda, and many of these celebrities have ties to New York. Alan Alda is originally from New York, and so I said, I had a list of celebrities like John Saxon and a number of these actors that people might have known or met, and it was just a way to work it in. Alan Alda at this time in the early '60s was a decade before he became famous on MASH. He's working in Broadway, trying to make it and whatnot. So he would stop off at some local cafe or bar to visit his cousin or whatnot. And it's just a way to introduce things and give a sense of the 1960s. As I said, this is a Technicolor production. It's not the black and white darkness of the Vincetti brothers. It has to be Technicolor and bold. It's like one of those Woody Allen movies with Peter Sellers and one of these all-star romps of the 1960s where people are just running around doing crazy things. And that and by doing that, by having these comic moments, it makes when you get to those dramatic moments all the more dramatic because it isn't just sort of slouching towards Bethlehem, dragged through the mud of life. It's up and down, and it's more realistic. And when you get that moment of release, well, the comedy is a release, so you get that antiphon of comedy and drama, which heightens both of them.